All right, JAG University, episode 15. Back with Leo Portes. Back to back. We got the double header.
The double header.
We want to talk about and get into the anatomy of an insurance claim.
Okay.
This is our time to shine, right? This is the time we get to fulfill that promise on our contract for that risk transfer. Let me ask you, in your opinion, what's the first thing someone should do when there's a claim?
Okay. So it differs from what type of policy we are looking at. So on the personal side, the typical setup is the client reaches out to the carrier when it's an auto, and on the commercial side, it's different because there's an quasi expectation from the carriers that the agent is going to be the one
reporting the claim,
reporting the case.
Well, and on the personal, especially, there's more direct writers as well.
There's more direct right. Even then, and I'm gonna caveat this. This is JAG. This is different. What we do is disclaimer. Engage with the client to a level where they will approach us first in any and all. What does that give us an opportunity to do? So you have the layman. They have a policy. They call us. I had an incident, whether it be commercial or personal. So what do? We discuss what happened. So give me the details of exactly what.
Who, what, when, where.
They have a duty. First of all, there's a duty that is embedded in your contract as part of the policy itself that requires an insured to A, notify the client expediently of any incident that occurs, and B, cooperate with that the investigation of the case.
How gray is that area? Like, what's the time frame? I mean, as far as, because sometimes it's when you're
depends.
notified, because when it happened and when you're notified, two different things as well.
It all depends, and that could get very, very, very hairy. The recommendation is obviously notify as soon as you find out.
Correct.
24, 48 hours is fine, but when you're looking at higher level exposures, let's say that you have a fatality, you have a shooting, you have a fire, obviously, those are things that you should notify immediately. But again, what differentiates us, call us first. We typically provide our clients with already a booklet with information,
a preemptive approach
of
what to do, expectations.
An incident report for different types of incidents, whether it be property, general liability, auto. So we already provide this to them ahead of time. So we educate the clients on what to do. So obviously provide us with information, whether it may be pictures of the incident, statements that they may have secured from any claimants, written statements ahead of time, solid information from them as to what they've done in regards to going to the accident scene, and again documenting that as much as possible.
Now you mentioned something about any and all claims, because to step back for a second, sometimes there's a little bit of hesitation on some business owners whether or not I should report it to the carrier. Now that's where I think the communication with an agent comes big into play, right? Yeah. That constant of what should you claim, what should you not claim. I know we had specific examples you've been involved in where they're calling us about a claim, but we can identify pretty quick what's the fastest way to subrogate, right? Who's at fault, right? An auto accident, for example,
so,
right?
Let's say an auto accident. We have a client call us and say, I just got involved in an accident. I'm not at fault. What should I do?
And that's a constant question.
So I go through the process. This is the way that you present the claim. Let's say that you go to your carrier. Recommend that you go to your carrier at least to put them on notice. But let's say that they're not at fault for the incident. I'm able to, or one of my team members is able to identify liability pretty quickly based on the description of the loss.
Now, on that specific instant, you're not at fault. How important is it to wait for a police report?
Police reports are important, but they're not crucial. You should always wait for the police report on scene. I mean, that's a given. You should never leave the scene of the accident without a police report.
I mean, besides identifying fault, it also helps kind of clarify insurance information for the at-fault party as well.
You secure insurance information. You secure facts as to who was there, what the officer heard. They're not witnesses to the incident, but they'll be able to write down to the best of their abilities what they heard from the drivers or any witnesses that may have been on scene. Does the police report hold any weight in court? No. It's pretty much hearsay. I never been able to say, hey, judge or
Here's
jury,
Here's
the
that.
police says this.
Right.
They're not witnesses to the incident unless the police officer witnesses the accident or incident. It's pretty much third-party information, but it does memorialize the who's, the what's, the where's, the how's. And you obviously use that information to start making the contacts. And going back, if our clients are not liable, and one of the things that we provide, a unique service that we provide, is we get in contact with the third-party carrier.
Yeah.
So we file the claim on their behalf. And we intervene. We put the case in as best we possibly can, format it in a way where we, from the get-go, try to pin them on the liability towards them getting paid through that third party and not through their own carrier.
Protect their program, their loss runs, no deductible. Like how much information is too much? Because sometimes there's this hesitation of if I give too much information, but that's the kind of, is it photos, receipts, eyewitness testimony? Now with an iPhone, everybody can kind of document what.
The more information that you have, the better. And feeding us, your agent, that information is crucial. Now, we might decide to use some of it. We might decide to hold some of it and leave it in our sleeves.
So you prefer that to be up to our discretion?
I believe that it should be up to our discretion, so that we can use our years and years, decades of experience in order to best format the information and provide it to the at-fault carriers in order to improve on the chances to get them to pay those liability cases.
I mean, in any claims, just to say generic claim, I mean, what's kind of the expectations too for that we should expect from carriers to respond to our insureds?
We usually get responses within 24 to 48 hours, but we are very much into, and we have a process in place where everything is documented. There's a paper trail for everything. There's ticklers for follow-up. So 2-3 days, if we haven't heard anything, our team goes out and pursues a follow-up with them, whether it be by phone or an additional email that gets sent out. So we do put the pressure on the carriers in order to execute and respond timely.
And I think, but that point right there about number one, expectations, but also communication with the carrier. I think a lot of just agents in general kind of assume everything's left up to the actual carrier. And you've been on the carrier side as well. There's just it's a very overwhelming process, right? With multiple claims, multiple things having on the carrier side, just relying on the carrier. I mean, the intentions might be there; they are there for the carrier to actually come up and pay the claim. It's just you get lost in the shuffle. That's
there's two areas here that you have to look at when you're looking at claims and workloads and so on. To most people, to the individual Joe, a claim or an accident could be the most traumatic experience that they've had in their lifetime.
Yeah.
They don't understand the process. So they get attorneys throwing, cards at them, and public adjusters going out there and trying to get they're overwhelmed with information and a lot of disinformation, which is key. So having those conversations with us so that we can clarify the process. This is what your expectation is going to be. You're going to get a call within X amount of time. We want to be there with you. Let's do a 3-way call. They might take a recorded statement from you. Let's go through what you're going to say, how to best describe the accident in order to, again, best improve your chances of getting paid. You're not lying. You're just making sure that you don't trigger or say words that...
Well, you mentioned that if there's a significant claim, obviously... Talk about traumatic experience. Yeah. You might say things that are a little bit out of character as well.
Correct. And then you have on the other end adjusters which deal with day in and day out tens of individuals in this traumatic
experience
state of mind, getting screamed at. You're overworked. It's a never-ending process. I've been there. I did that for years.
Especially in South Florida.
You have attorneys, right my eye, connected to towing companies, connected to clinics, connected to agencies. It's just a whirlwind. It's a very litigious area of the country, and adjusters obviously are overwhelmed with work most of the time. So although they may have the best intentions, sometimes they might not be able to get to the file on a timely basis. They might make decisions on the fly, and they're under pressure to preserve
Correct.
payouts and incurred on behalf of their insureds.
So back to the point too. It's not just, and you mentioned some good points about when to report the claim, how to report the claim, how do you dress it up, how do you stand out to be different than everybody else on that adjuster's desk, right? Yeah. How's that file look? That's where the claims advocacy, the anatomy of the claim
time
works.
And time again, what I hear from the adjusters on that we're going after, say thank you. We get thanked because I remember as an adjuster receiving a file with an empty accord, a phone number and a name.
So what happens in that situation? You put it to the side.
You put it to the side. I'm not going to get to. I'm going to try to get to whatever is easiest.
Right.
So that file is going to potentially get lost in the shuffle. But I'm feeding that adjuster with pictures, statements. I mean, that is time that I'm taking away from their day. Stress that they're going to have to get on the phone and pick up. I'm telling them I'm going to be your liaison. Come through me.
It's so funny. Like you've lived it. That mutual respect.
Yeah, it's
which we see in any kind of work. The fact that you've lived it, done it. Yeah. You can have you understand what they expect now, and you're able to kind of articulate, just deliver it. We use the word teed up, right? Yeah. The baseball term.
And the fact that we, not only adjusters, I've gotten the same from attorneys.
Yeah.
Defense attorneys saying, thank you. I mean, because I understand what challenges they face when dealing with insurance and being that middle person where you're making that connection, making the information flow much easier, providing the right information in a timely manner is a value add for everybody involved, the insured and our client, because they're going to get their claim paid. They're going to get paid faster. You make the life easier of the adjuster. You create that relationship, and the defense attorneys, if it gets to that, they have a certain respect because we are helping them through the process. So this is it's a synergy of activities that goes on in these files.
And it all comes down to the anatomy of a claim, right? It's communication.
Yeah.
And if you got to be able to communicate effectively with your agent, where's that partnership with the carrier, who's handling risk management, all that stuff comes into play. I mean, if I had to guess, and you've been on that side, a majority of the times people aren't satisfied with their claims experience has to come down to that lack of communication and transparency to the process.
It boils down to that. There's a frustration in the fact that clients don't understand the claims process. You're dealing with overworked individuals on the back end. There's a whole set of steps that need to be followed in the life of a claim.
Who's bridging that gap?
Having someone bridging that gap and bringing all that magic, putting that sancocho together, is magic. It's that's what you call value add.
Yeah, no, and we've seen it on the front lines. I mean, we see it now, and we encourage that too. Just anybody in that claims process. I think the intent for every carrier is they want to live up to that part. They want to live up to the contract. Granted, sometimes your relationship and the communication with the carriers and the claim, I think that's where things get a little bit muddy. But I encourage everybody to give the carriers the first opportunity to deliver to the promise.
Absolutely.
I mean, that is the intent of the insurance policy. That's the intent of living up to it. And I encourage everybody to do so.